So I'm going to make this short and sweet. This was a YouTube recommend, and yeah, look, I've tried to say to people over the years, look, facts out there. I went to four secondary schools. Royal High, Dalkeith High, Fettes College as a boarder, and St David's High. Now, Dalkeith High no longer exists. St David's High no longer exists. Fettes still exists, and the Royal High School. Royal High School State, very interesting experience I had there as a young child from Clarmiston. Yeah. I encapsulated Clarmiston, otherwise known as Clary, or the Clary Jungle. Camo. Wow. They had beadies there. Holy shit, in the 70s, imagine that. This place called Camo along Queensferry Road. And it was my first experience of seeing a beadie. I mean, as a young child, you thought, that's a low sink. Anyway, Barnton Gate, Davidson's Means, Silvernows, Crammond. I mean, it had quite the mix. And believe me, you're talking about some of the wealthiest apparent places in Edinburgh, certainly then, and some of the, most working class. That would be Clarmiston and Silvernows. Not so Davidson Means, etc. So here we are at 2 minutes plus. So I went to Royal High, Dalkeith High, Fettes College, and St David's. Now, I've said before, if I had gone into somewhere like Fettes College after already experiencing what is called prep school, I think I would have made a much better job of it. But I had not been doing any of that. And the other thing was that, my folks only lived 7 miles from where I was boarding. That was tough. And I could tell you other things, not least of which, the head prefect, some guy either from Japan or whatever, had me, water torch, honestly, fucking dripping tap, the whole fucking works, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, so many others were like, oh, look at this working class bastard, And yet when you went back to Dalkeith, oh, look at this snobby fuck. Honestly, you were hit from every fucking angle based around snobbery. And be assured, the working class, or whatever the fuck that's supposed to be these days, is as snobby, if not more, than whoever's supposed to be wealthier. By and large. You can be assured of that. And this retarded mindset of, they've gone to private school, therefore, I met some phenomenal people when I was at Fettes for a fairly short time in the early 80s. I had some pretty fucking tough times there, and some pretty good times there. I'm glad I went there. I could go into more detail about how I left there, especially when I was being blamed and accused for stealing, apparently, and they found out, actually, 6 months to a year later, I meet some Fettesians again, and they go, oh, Scott, sorry, I really need to apologise, it was blah, blah, blah. And it was one of the primary reasons I fucking left Fettes, went up to my grand's in Edinburgh. I'd had enough. But do not, for one instance, think that private school education, under the right circumstances, is a bad thing. Because all you need to do is look at the fucking state school education. And remember, these people are paying money to try and avoid that brainwash shite. And have you not questioned how they went from reasonable tax-exempt situation as, well, it's a school, to no, it's private, therefore it has to pay full whack. And then in the last few years, VAT added to that in an already expensive situation. But no, people like that are your fucking friend. Really? Seriously, I disagree with this guy totally on what I'm seeing there. Because the inference is, this is about the continual attack on private schools as an option other than the state school indoctrination. Remember, Labour put VAT on private school education for a reason. Look at fucking Oxford. Look at what it used to be respected for. Look at it now. There's not a mistake, but this chip in the fucking shoulder. I was never wealthy. I have never been rich in my fucking life. And I got hit from all angles because everybody fucking assumed. Well, I never. I treat people the way I fucking find them. Not a chip in the shoulder based on some preconceived fucking idea. I met some great people in Fetties, and I also met some fucking awful people there. But don't. Seriously, people could say, oh, well, that's your Stockholm Syndrome talking. Fuck you. I'm not a victim. Yeah? Far from it. This is about dumbing down. Sold to the fucking idiots. And I'll speak to you soon.